Hey, welcome back, Scrollmates. So apparently the new thing for eating disorders is, plus size, because we got to be inclusive. Love that for this world. I'm going to be talking about Tess Holiday, and I also want to go back into the DSM actually says about anorexia nervosa, because this woke mentality of 2023. So even doctors and therapists are going on this bandwagon to complete an agenda, but come with me and stumble along. Anorexia nervosa diagnosis. Mental health doesn't just affect women in general, and it affects everyone. Can we just say that and not just put all these labels on everything? Have an impact to actually include people, because if we don't, then we could be canceled. The thing is that I have felt very attacked as a woman in general because of, Dylan Mulvaney and his all transgender ideologies, and how he puts on a costume to express womanhood, but making a mockery out of women, and that drives me bonkers. But this is a whole nother level for me. I think it just because I've actually struggled with eating disorder for years, anorexia nervosa eating disorder subtype, that I could not be quiet anymore, okay? And I don't care if people come for me, because there's not that many people even watch me, so it does not matter. So the definition of an eating disorder, like we'll see, is actually great and actually accurate. And then we go into what the three myths, I'll show you that after, 3 myths of anorexia nervosa.
Criteria for anorexia nervosa using ICD-10 and DSM-5, and I'm also going to talk about the differences between them. Okay, the criteria for diagnosing anorexia nervosa using ICD-10 includes actual body weight at least 15% below expected weight.
Okay, so this lady is a psychiatrist, and she is talking about the DSM-5. So,
or BMI of 17.5 or less in adults.
Okay, so the DSM-5, keep this in mind for later, says 15% below expected body weight or BMI less than 17.5 in weight loss in adults.
The diagnostic criteria for anorexia nervosa in DSM-5 includes restriction of energy intake relative to requirements of the person according to their age, sex, developmental trajectory and physical health. Weight loss is caused by the avoidance of high-calorie foods and at least one of the following: self-induced vomiting, self-induced purging, excessive exercise, use of appetite suppressants and or diuretics. Distorted body image as a specific psychological disorder. Endocrine disorder manifest in females as amenorrhea and in males as a loss of libido. If onset is pre-pubertal, puberty may be delayed in boys.
Okay, so when she talks about purging, she was talking about self-induced vomiting and excess exercise, which I didn't know when I got diagnosed with it. I didn't know when I got diagnosed with the disorder, anorexia nervosa, that I really want to drive home the point that what eating disorder I had, because to really emphasize it, because the fact of the matter is that Tess, anyway, is just gotta keep emphasizing. So that purging can be seen as over-exercising. So I didn't know that when I was in inpatient treatment. And I actually had to go to an eating disorder exercise group because it just was so aggressive. Okay.
The second criteria of DSM-5 states the fear of fatness, or intense fear of becoming fat even though underweight. This isn't mentioned in ICD.
Then the next criteria of the DSM-5 is literally the fear of being fat. Let's help process that.
In shape on self-evaluation, or they deny the seriousness of their low body weight. ICD-10 just states that the illness is a loss of libido. And if the onset is pre-pubertal, puberty will be delayed in boys and girls. There will be cessation of growth and the breasts will not develop in girls. Thank you for listening.
Okay, now let's keep that all into consideration in our heads, okay? Okay. Tess Holiday.
Model Tess Holiday, known for her bright red hair and body positivity. She's amassed over 2 million followers on Instagram and major brand partnerships. But below the surface, Tess says she's been suffering with an eating disorder.
I wasn't taking care of myself in the way I needed. I wasn't looking after my mental health in the ways that I should have. I was always making sure that everyone else's cup was full and I wasn't filling my own. So I think that's how I went so long without really being able to address, myself and my disordered eating.
The 35-year-old mother of two says her decades-long disordered eating.
Okay, I'm glad that Tess actually says that she has had a decade-long disordered eating pattern of her life, but that doesn't mean she has anorexia. Ugh!
Caught up to her in the last year.
I would go all day without eating, and I would chalk it up to, I'm busy, I'm this. But the thing is, I had hunger pain all day, and I was sick all day. Oh, I'm busy, I'm a mom, I'm this, I'm working, I'll eat later. But later never happened. And then at nighttime, usually when my kids were in bed and I could settle, I would eat one meal, and then I would go to bed.
Okay, this makes me mad because she says that she doesn't eat all day and then she has a meal. Okay, yeah, that could be whatever. That's disordered eating. But the thing with anorexia nervosa is that for me and a lot of other people is that you literally stop eating. Like you do not eat at all. And then you also have other coping strategies as in like exercising, purging, etc. It doesn't really specifically say how long she's been not eating. I like how they say a form of anorexia.
She has a form of anorexia, a revelation that has received some support, as well as anger and skepticism.
I am plus size, but advocating for diversity in larger bodies. And so I think for people hearing me say I'm anorexic was really jarring.
Yeah, it's jarring because you're a plus size model. This is why. It's jarring.
And hard and confusing. I've had a lot of messages from folks that are anorexic that are livid and angry because they feel like I'm lying.
What do you want to say to people who don't believe you, who are skeptical when you say you're anorexic?
To folks that don't believe me, that I'm anorexic and that this is what I'm dealing with, it doesn't really matter. Because at the end of the day, this is my truth. If this resonates with you, if you need help, get help. If this helps you feel less alone, great. It's so much more powerful just to say, hey, I'm hurting. And if you're hurting too, that's okay. You don't have to do this alone.
Tess having the willingness to speak out about her experience, acknowledging some of the backlash that she's receiving is an indication of extraordinary bravery and an indication of, her health and healing and some of her process.
Tess confided in the counsel of Anna Sweeney, specializing in eating disorders, who says Tess has atypical anorexia.
Atypical anorexia, which would imply the same physiological characteristics of anorexia nervosa, except for body size, accounts for anywhere between 2 and 4% of the population.
Okay, this Anna Sweeney okay? Because she diagnosed Tess Holiday, and she's misleading her to something that she does not have. Like, what? Disordered eating, yes. Maybe if she's going down this road for like years and years and years of eating this way, sure. But the body index does not account to the actual disorder. So this is manufactually not correct and offensive to myself and to people that actually have anorexia. A-type anorexia, what she said? A-type anorexia nervosa is defined by perceiving restriction of energy or intake, intense fear of gaining weight, and disturbance in self-perception of weight or shape. So it's the same thing. Why are they contradicting themselves? It is not of all weights and sizes. They may restrict food. They may. She's just making it up. And it's characterized by severe food restriction, and it's threatening to the body. However, a new subtype requires diverse under the umbrella of anorexia. What is A-type anorexia? A-type anorexia is when someone has the thoughts and behaviors of anorexia. They might be preoccupied by their body size and food choices. And treated can help change thoughts and patterns around the body image. Okay, so I think honestly on DSM, I think they just had to make a woke political statement to people. So that psychologist is literally unhinged in their brain, to say the least. It's probably because they're trying to meet an agenda of being inclusive, that we're in plus size body types to meet the criteria for them, so they didn't feel out, not inclusive, and they just had to slap a label on it. So that happened. Another thing that I found on the internet recently is that I found mysteries of anorexia, about anorexia, by PsychHub. And just keep in mind that the lady who actually is the co-founder to PsychHub has a priorly worked in the field of licensing and marriage therapy. And she is promoting these things on their YouTube channel. They just make a blank statement of anorexia nervosa. They don't say any subtypes, nothing.
Nervosa is an eating disorder characterized by a person not eating, fear of gaining weight, and focus on losing weight.
Okay, this is all relevant, right? So
here are some myths you might have heard about anorexia. Only cisgender women are affected by anorexia. In a survey of nearly 300,000 college students, transgender students had over 4 times greater risk of being diagnosed with anorexia nervosa. And according to the National Eating Disorders Association, men make up 25% of those with anorexia. Anorexia does not impact a person's health. The lack of food and nutrient intake can prevent a person's body from functioning properly. If untreated, it can lead to electrolyte imbalances and other medical conditions. You can tell someone has anorexia by the way they look. Any person at any body size can struggle with anorexia. Being underweight is not a direct sign that someone is living with anorexia. Anorexia nervosa.
the co-founder of PsychHub, which is the YouTube channel, is Marjorie Morrison, and that's the woman who does therapy. And the fact that she's aware of what is actually happening and then puts this out into the world is just irresponsible and makes people think that they have an actual, they have anorexia nervosa. Mentally they might, but not physically. It just diminishes the lived experience of people. I'm very brash, but the fact that this is happening in the world, you need to be, or your point will not come across. And the fact that I almost died in treatment, and now we're making kind of light of this situation. Before I went into treatment, I almost died, and that we're doing this, it just gut-wrenching for me, and a lot of probably other people that have struggled with anorexia nervosa. Are we trying to evoke a political agenda just because we live in 2023, just to appease an audience so that we're more diverse and more inclusive within the DSM even? It's supposed to be a scientific holy grail. Now it's turned into a political statement that just is a laughable matter now. Sorry you were dealing with my cold the whole time and me being sick. Sorry, but I had to put this out here because it just makes me enraged.